Well, good morning, everybody. Even before watching Making a Murderer, I'd heard about the Jinx, which was the documentary about Robert Durst, although the person that told me about it couldn't remember the name of the person involved, but was just appalled at the legal system that allowed people like Robert Durst to walk free when, as we saw later on in 2015 in Making a Murderer, how the legal system can be so perverted as to convict Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. And yet, the haves, such as the millionaire Robert Durst, can get away with anything, and the have-nots that are clearly innocent, demonstrably innocent, demonstrably framed, and yet they enjoy no relief whatsoever in the legal system. So anyway, I've always had a knowledge of the documentary, The Jinx. I didn't realize why it was called The Jinx, as we discover in this article. It's because Robert Durst seemed to feel that he was jinxed. It's amazing, isn't it? A multi-millionaire feels that he's unlucky in life. Bizarrely, I've met quite a few people who are very, very wealthy, who say that, when they're retired, they say the money, they didn't enjoy it at all. So just goes to show, doesn't it, eh? Anyway, let's have a look at this here. Move me up to the top there. So this is entitled 10 Bizarre Facts About Robert Durst and His Murder Case. The real estate heir has been behind bars since March 2015 for murdering Susan Berman and possibly others. After years of Robert Durst grabbing headlines for misdeeds, both proven and alleged, some may feel it's about time the focus was placed back on the woman whose disappearance got the whole sordid saga rolling. Kathleen Durst's body was never found, and there was not enough compelling evidence to bring charges against her husband. But friends and family who were privy to their troubled marriage came to believe early on that Durst was responsible for her disappearance. One friend who stood by him was Susan Berman, an author known for memoirs of her life as a mobster's daughter. Some suspected that Berman knew more about what became of Kathy than she was telling. And in 2000, Durst may have suspected that she was finally starting to talk. Later that year, she was shot execution style in her Los Angeles home. The investigation found it as Durst prospered in his father's real estate business. Then, in the 1990s, he left the firm after a family dispute and himself disappeared from sight, only to resurface in Galveston, Texas, as the main suspect in the murder dismemberment of neighbor Morris Black. There was a manhunt. Durst was caught and acquitted, though he did cop to cutting up his neighbor's body. How do you cut up your neighbor in self-defense? That's pretty bizarre, isn't it? Anyway, in the meantime, Susan Berman, a longtime female friend of Durst, also turned up murdered execution style in her Los Angeles home. On March 14th, 2015, Durst was arrested by the FBI in connection with Berman's murder, and in March 2020, Durst's trial began, only to be postponed due to COVID. Here are some of the more bizarre details of his story. And his trial just started again. I was watching a little bit of opening arguments last night. Trouble attached itself early to Robert Durst. When he was 7, his 32-year-old mother either jumped or fell to her death from the roof of the family home in Scarsdale, New York. Durst was a witness. Years of counseling followed. As a child, his eccentricities included pretending to be in a school band and hiding his tuba in the woods. Despite his wealth, Durst styled himself as a member of the counterculture in the late 1960s and early 1970s. While enrolled at UCLA, he minored in marijuana intake, engaged in primal screen therapy alongside John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and became an acolyte of Beatles guru Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. In the early 70s, he met Kathleen and the couple moved to New Hampshire to run a health food store. Durst seemed less than concerned after his wife's disappearance. Kathleen was on the verge of extricating herself from what friends described as a controlling, abusive Durst when she vanished in 1982. Durst did not report the disappearance for 4 days. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And his accounts of the last time he saw his wife in their Westchester County home kept changing and did not hold up to scrutiny. The police were stumped, but after several of Kathleen's friends undertook their own investigation, their homes were burglarized and relevant materials were stolen. Durst was not a fan of his younger brother, as we discover in the Jinx. In an interview with the New York Times, Douglas Durst revealed that he and his brothers' long-standing enmity extended to keeping weapons. A plumber's wench for Durst, a piece of pipe for Douglas, close at hand in their Durst organization offices during the 1990s. Father Seymour Durst eventually replaced his eldest son with Doug as the designated successor. Durst subsequently left the company. Berman grew up among Las Vegas mobsters. On Christmas Eve of 2000, Durst's pal and supporter, Susan Berman, who had written books about her girlhood amongst Las Vegas mobsters like Bugsy Siegel, was found dead in her California home. A single gunshot wound to the head made it look like a gang hit. But it then emerged that New York State Police had been in touch with Berman about the Kathleen cold case. Durst was arrested by the FBI on March 14, 2015, in connection with Berman's murder. In 2000, the same year as Berman's murder, a cross-dressing Durst turned up in Galveston. Dressed in drag and posing as a mute woman called Dorothy Siner, the name of an actual childhood acquaintance, Durst moved into a shabby apartment in the Texas coastal city. At times, he also passed as a mute man and sometimes as Siner's house guest Durst. Siner was no more to be trusted than Durst. In September 2001, pieces of Siner's neighbor, 71-year-old Black, started washing ashore around Galveston. No head was ever recovered. A trail of blood was found leading from Black's apartment to Siner's. Her true identity was revealed and Durst was arrested, but posted bail and escaped. Yeah, this is bizarre. Durst was arrested while stealing from a supermarket. Still dressed in a woman's wig, Durst was apprehended while stealing a sandwich, a newspaper, and a Band-Aid from a Pennsylvania supermarket. He pled innocent to the murder charge during the trial, claiming a struggle over a gun had led to Black's death, while admitting to carving up the man's body with a paring knife. Durst was acquitted of murder, although he served some time on lesser charges. Durst's brother suggests he's a dog slayer. With interest revived in Kathleen's disappearance and presumed murder, Douglas revealed a theory in his Times interview. According to his account, Durst had a succession of 7 Alaskan Malamutes, all named Igo, who mysteriously died over the months leading to Kathleen's disappearance. Public urination has tripped Durst up on more than one occasion. In July 2014, Durst was arrested when he exposed himself and urinated on a candy rack at a Houston CVS. Douglas recalls that his older brother's fate with the Durst organization may have been sealed when he peed in an uncle's waste basket. Wow. Okie dokie, pretty bizarre stuff, but as I say, I'm sure you'll appreciate that I can't help but notice the dichotomy, as I say, between Robert Durst, getting away because he can hire very, very expensive lawyers, and what happened to Steve and Brendan. But yeah, there's pretty bizarre facts in there. I seem to remember, if you watch the end of the Jinx, we realized that the film crew actually did a very good job of basically proving that Robert Durst had murdered Susan Berman because of the writing on the letter that was sent to her. Anyway, that was just a quick one, just to say, yeah, that the case is ongoing. Closing and opening arguments were presented yesterday. We'll keep an eye on the case and how it develops. Bizarrely, it's reckoned it could last between 5 and 6 months, which seems an extraordinary amount of time to go through this case, but maybe they want to go through every single detail of it. I'm sure that the prosecution will want to highlight all of the previous things listed there and others. Anyway, we'll hopefully post another dude video later on today as well. Catch you all again soon. Bye for now.